sure it's there. All right, is this thing on? Hey, Annette.
It's on.
Can you just give me a thumbs up here?
Yep.
We're good? Okay, cool. All right. All right, so on your note, or on the page, there's going to be some notes. There's going to be some things that I'm going to talk about in the next hour. I'm going to share with you some of my testimony. You've heard my brief bio, but I'm going to kind of unpeel the layers for you a little bit. Okay? And like I said, there's going to be some C words and maybe some F words. So you got some C's on your page and you got some F's on the backside. So I gave you a few F's, gave you a few C's. So hopefully this page will help guide you in the discussion. Feel free to take notes, jot down any questions, and we'll be able to take some questions at the end. But basically, all of you should have also received the Road to Resilience book, a copy of my book. Each one of them should be signed. We'll have an opportunity later to personalize them if you want to. But what we're going to talk about today is a brief synopsis of that book. Okay, so we're going to do just a brief overview and what I like to call the freedom formula is the Road to Resilience. So we're going to unpeel that a little bit, and so hopefully give you some tips and tools and strategies to learn, hopefully through my message, and then also for you to lead her ship and show others what's possible. Okay, so we're going to take some of these, take some notes, jot down your questions, and then we'll ask questions later. Deal?
Deal.
All right, cool. So, have you all ever felt yourself stuck in a situation that you never wanted to be in? You're already raising your hands. Maybe you're on an airplane in the center seat, stuck between two people. And the guy to your left is eating a tuna sandwich. And the woman to your right smells like she hasn't showered in a couple days. Yeah. Or maybe you're at a family party and your great grandma Rosie wants to kiss you on the lips. Right? Yeah. Maybe it's worse. You've been stuck in a job, a relationship, or maybe a mindset that's been holding you back for years. I felt trapped in all of these situations, feeling shackled, like a caged pit bull, determined to get out. I spent many years shoving down my thoughts, my dreams, and my emotions, just to serve others. And many times at the expense of my own health and well-being. I spent 22 years in the United States Air Force. And as a woman in the military, living in a man's world, I know that each and every one of you, if there is anyone on this planet that knows what I went through, it's every single person in this room. Our lives are sometimes fueled with toxic relationships, abuse, and emotional abuse. And I've had times where I felt completely and utterly trapped. Felt like I never had a voice, or even that I mattered. It's actually a miracle that I'm standing here before you today.
Amen.
And that's precisely why I know that I can help you break free and level up your life too. So now there were 2 times in my life when I was a witch for Halloween. And as I stand here with my angelic voice and my beautiful white gown here today, I want to share with you some of the darkest times of my life. Now, the first time was when I was a freshman in high school, and I decided I wanted to be a witch for Halloween. Now, we met Mama Kelly back there. She, as an awesome mom that she is, said, don't put the adhesive from your black wig in your hair, like it'll ruin your hair, right? At 15, I knew better. I was like, yeah, no, fine. So you're supposed to put it, I guess, on your scalp to like cover up a little bit more. No, I knew better. So I put it in my hair.
Didn't have much hair left.
No, you're right. So I ruined all of my hair up here, which caused me to have to shave my head. And I had to start a new trend. And thankfully, does anybody know who Holly Berry is? Okay, she shaved her head around the same time. So we were like trendsetters, and I knew I was going to be a leader from the start. Yeah. All right, so then I continued high school, obviously grew my hair back. Continued high school and then decided to join the military. So right after 9/11. I was going to help pay for college, kind of climbing the corporate ladder, working for the Air National Guard, part-time, while going to school full-time, working, just starting my whole life. I was a college athlete, I was a cheerleader and a runner. And then in my senior year of my undergrad, I applied to be in the NFL. So I tried out for the Buffalo Bills. Go Bills! We have an awesome game coming up, right? Monday? Yes. So so I cheered for the Buffalo Bills, y'all. I made it, right? And this is a lot of young girls' dreams and goals, right? And I made it. And so that brings me to the second time that I was a witch for Halloween. So they gave me one of the jobs that we were going to do was to do a runway show for Spirit Halloween store. Mm-hmm. And I was the last one to pick up my uniform. And they turned over a witch costume. Yeah. And so, exactly, right?
Did you glue your hair again?
Well, I think I learned this lesson, right? But I did start a new trend that wouldn't turn out as well as this one. I ran that runway show, and as a kind of a poor college student, I went to Payless and bought the black stiletto pointed shoes right when they started coming out again. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I woke up on November 1st, 2005, and my right baby toe was bigger than my big toe. Ooh. Yeah, I was in so much pain, and y'all know Buffalo winters, they're not really good with flip-flops. I couldn't even put my foot in a shoe. I was in so much pain. I stalked my doctors for weeks, and they just kept shooing me away. Pun intended. You better slow down. You gotta stop working out. You're doing too much. You might have an ingrown toenail. Suck it up. Rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine. Stop working out. Stop being a crybaby.
That's doctors not listening to people.
Yeah. It wasn't before a few weeks until my right knee started hurting. Then my left knee started hurting, and I could no longer walk. The pain traveled up to my right shoulder, then to my left shoulder, and then to my jaw. I had lockjaw for 3 months straight. I couldn't even put my pinky in my mouth. I had to eat out of a straw, and they almost put metal plates in my jaw to do TMJ surgery. My entire body shut down, and I was lost, depressed, sleep deprived, and really confused. I ended up spending 6 months in a wheelchair, taking tons of medication, prednisone, gaining a ton of weight, while they poked and prodded at me, tried to figure out what was wrong with me. The doctors threw me around like a rag doll, and my parents were hopeless, and they almost sent me to the Cleveland Clinic. They had no idea what was wrong. Until one day I shared my experience with a classmate. I was in my senior year of my undergrad, and she had lupus. She was always going to the doctors, and so I was always taking notes for her. And I'm an orange, right? So I was orange gold, right? Front and center, right here. Students, the teacher's pet, and I'm taking notes, and I took notes for this girl, and I said, my symptoms seem pretty similar to yours. And I'm like, they can't figure out what's wrong with me. And she said, well, I'm going to the doctor's in the next couple days. I'll let him know about your symptoms and we'll see what we can do. Dr. Barrett was his name. He called me on a Friday night and he said, no doctor, no rheumatologist is taking new patients right now, but we'll take you next week. He said the magic words, and he ended up diagnosing me with a really rare form of rheumatoid arthritis. Seronegative spondyloarthritis. It's a mouthful. It's a lot. I'm a lot, and I don't apologize for it anymore. So he ended up working up a cocktail because I was in a wheelchair. I wasn't able to walk. He ended up coming up with a cocktail of a chemotherapy pill and a steroid injection that I would put into my quads, into my abdomen every other day to be able to move. And I was just starting to gain traction and start to move again, where I started to gain some hope that I just might be an athlete again. Until I got the call from the Air Force Base that said, yeah, that medication that you're on is disqualifying. We're gonna have to kick you out. So I went through an MEB, and as we were waiting, as we know, these processes are not fast. If you owe the government money, that request is fast. But if you're waiting for a discharge, it's not very fast. And so as I was waiting for the discharge, and I thought my life was over, I was no longer an NFL cheerleader. I could not walk, I could not dance, I could not do anything. Everything was over, everything was stripped. I ended up in the emergency room again. But this time, I had so much joint fluid that had filled up it had filled up from the top of my leg all the way down into my ankles. Who here's a mom? So you know about what happens. Okay, so that was so uncomfortable, and I had to go to the emergency room. And they had to take the biggest needle to extract the bright orange joint fluid out of my knee. Yeah. And as I looked over at the ER nurse, she's like, hey, aren't you that like cute little cheerleader runner girl from the base? I was like, yeah, but that's all over. She said, something doesn't seem right. You're an athlete. You're a high performer. You have so much going on. This just doesn't seem right. So she worked with me to try to figure out different modalities, different medications that would not be disqualifying. I said, there's gotta be another way. Just 3 years into my career. So I worked with the doctors. We were able to find some other medication that was not disqualifying, applied to stay in. But also, I read Arthritis for Dummies. Kelly, this is before, Dr. Google, before Facebook and social media, where you're like, here's my ailments, let me tell you all the things. Facebook, please help me. No, I read Arthritis for Dummies, and I started studying at the young age of 22 the power of anti-inflammatory diets, the power of nutrition, the power of movement, and the power of mindfulness. So I started to understand what was happening in my body. I started to understand that I needed therapy. And I started to understand that I was in not only a toxic, abusive relationship with the man that I was living with at the time, but I was in a toxic, abusive relationship with myself and my health. I knew I needed to take control. I knew I needed to take the wheel again. And I started studying, and I started moving, and I started taking one step at a time. I recognized that when I was out on the road walking and running, I started with one light post at a time, then 1 mile at a time, then 1 5K at a time. Started to break free. And I recognized the mind, body, spirit connection. And I started to feel even more free. I started to understand what my body was doing and how I could fuel it properly and move it properly doing what I could with what I had. Then I got a wild hair. I said, I think I want to run a half marathon. So I did it. And then I ran a few more. And then I'm like, wow, I can really do this. And then I ran my first marathon in 2011. So it took a couple years. So it wasn't overnight. But I will say that I worked with all my doctors. I got off of all the medication within a year. And I started running. And I started taking care of myself and my health. I got out of that toxic abusive relationship. I got therapy. I learned about myself. And I'm proud to say that as of today, I've run 26 marathons and a 50-mile race. Thank you. And I don't even take ibuprofen to this day. So that is why I'm here to share with you my freedom formula. The tools that we have, they're not just a set of steps. It's a lifeline that has guided me and countless others through the seasons of change to help you move through and have a beacon of light and hope. It's paired with a little bit of fitness, a little bit of fun, a little bit of family, and a little bit of faith. We got a little sprinkle of all of that. But it's personal growth, and it helps you understand what you can do right now with what you've got. And I know my doctors, they look at me like I'm a freak of nature, and they've told me that. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm a freak. But I think that I'm a beacon of hope, and that's why I'm here to share this message with you today. And resilience is my middle name. So put your seatbelt on, it's a wild ride. All right, so we're gonna get into the first C in the freedom formula. You have the C words. The first C is core. Okay, so according to one of my greatest mentors, his name is Trent Shelton. Raise your hand if you know who Trent Shelton is. Got some names. Okay, so everyone say, on the count of three, we're gonna say happy birthday, Trent. Today is his birthday. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Trent! All right, so according to one of my greatest mentors, he's actually hosting an event today, this whole weekend, called the Legendary Event in Dallas, Texas. It's his birthday. But I've been following him for years, and he helped me through some of the darkest times in my life. And he says, it all starts with you. It does all start with you. You have to know yourself to the core. And this is such a powerful message. When we're in times of challenge and change and despair and depression and all this confusion and overwhelm and stress and anxiety, we tend to reach out. And it all starts with you. Right? So recognizing that it starts with you, understanding that your posture and your energy arrives into the room before you do. And although you are having a human experience, someone else is experiencing you as well. So recognizing your core posture, how you show up in the world, has a ripple effect. And our energy is contagious, both positive and negative. So understand that we're all living, raise your hand if you're going through something right now. Yeah, everyone in the room. Okay, so everyone is trying to navigate this difficult thing called life, right? And so we have to recognize that our energy and our posture means everything. And it says a lot about how we feel about ourselves even before we open our mouth. And I know I walked through that door earlier and everyone was like, so when you walk in the door at home, do people go?
The dogs
When you-
do.
The dogs do, yeah. When you walk out of a room, do people be like, wow, she made an impact, right? So recognize that you have the power. Everyone say, I have the power. I have the power. Yes, you have the power to change the energy in the room. Yes, you do. I heard that. I hear everything. Okay. So we gotta recognize who we are to the core, recognize our core posture. So we're gonna go over our core posture. Everyone sit up a little bit taller right now. I'm gonna show you our core posture. Your core is from here to here. It is where your power is. Okay? So as women, a lot of times when we stand, we're like, okay? So I want everyone to put your hands up. I want you to put your 4 fingers together. Okay, I want you to put them on the top of your fanny. Yep, on the fanny, top of the fanny, the booty. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna tuck our hips forward just a little bit. We're not gonna have it stick out. We're gonna tuck it under just a little bit. Okay? And then we're gonna zip up, straight up, 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 up. Like you have a string at the top of our head, right? Then we're gonna put our shoulders away from our ears, shoulders backing down. Wow, y'all just got taller. I love it. So chin up, buttercup. All right, parallel to the ground. Now we're open for opportunity. Now we're not standing at attention, right? But recognize just a core posture and just a simple change can make a big difference. And just the means of recognizing your body language and your posture and knowing who you are to the core, when you walk into a room, you have the power to create that change in that room. So next up, we have our core values. Now, in the military, we all had our core values, right? And in the Air Force, we had integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. I had a really hard time with the one that was service before self. Although that's what we learned and that's what was ingrained in us, I was always like, why does service before self have to come at the sacrifice of oneself? And so that was really kind of the start of how I began Cruise Beyond Limits. It was like, I need to figure out, okay, what's the problem I'm gonna solve? So I was like, we're gonna change the core values. Those were my guiding light for 22 years. But the new core values are the 4 F's. What are the 4 F's?
Fun, fitness, family, and faith.
Yes. So on the back side, you have some F's. Okay. So faith, fitness, family, and fun. So service, a lot of you are blues, and we still serve. We serve our community. We serve our churches. We serve our families. We serve our loved ones, our friends, and everyone and everything, right? So service before self. Yes, and service should not come as a sacrifice to oneself. So let's insert some faith, fitness, family, and fun. And then lastly, we have to make sure that we understand that we have God-given gifts. And you each have unique gifts and talents. And so the more that we understand what those gifts are, does anyone know what my gifts are?
Speech.
Gorgeous.
Speech, gorgeous, thank you. I received that, thank you. We have to take a selfie later. Okay, especially with those glasses. Twins. Okay, so personality, what? Personality, who? I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be like you. And for those of you who missed Cynthia yesterday, she is all of her. And you are all of you. And you all have unique talents and gifts and strengths and joys and needs. And you are fun. I don't care what color you are. You all have a childlike part of you that wants to have fun and break free too. So the more that you know what those gifts are and you get curious, and give it a try. Give it a try. What's the worst that could happen? You never know. You might be standing right where you're supposed to be. The way you designed it. And when I faced my own identity crisis back in 2017, so fast forward, I met my husband, and he was also in the military, so he was in the Army, active duty. Moved here to Buffalo, met him, and we had orders. With 2 months' notice, I had to resign. I went active duty, actually. I was full-time in the military. And then he got orders, and I resigned my full-time position to move away with him with 2 months' notice. So raise your hand if you've ever been a military spouse. So you know how that is. Not easy. So we moved away with 2 months' notice, and I had to really reassess what was my next mission, what was my identity outside that uniform 24/7. I had to recognize what my talents were, what my gifts were. And I moved away, and I didn't have a job for almost 6 months. I was broke, without a job, without an identity. I had a master's degree. I was an E6 in the military at that time. I had a lot of experience. But I had so much discrimination going into the civilian world. I took stuff off my resume. I didn't say I had an MBA. I just settled, and I applied for job after job after job until I got no after no to like, what are you? To you're a lot. You have too much. You're asking for too much. To who do you think you are asking for that much? Or you're overqualified. Yeah. Or you just spent 16 years in the military. We're not like the military. You're going to be too rigid for us in HR. We're different. Or worse, I was a diversity and inclusion and leadership consultant back then. Well, in 2017, well before COVID. And they're like, who do you think you are doing this work? You don't belong here. You're not the right skin color. I got a lot of no's, and I hated introducing myself to my new friends and neighbors as just my husband's wife. No job, no identity, and I wasn't proud. And my body language and energy arrived in every room, and it screamed, I'm not worthy. I don't know who I am. Now, I didn't have a lot of time to do this transition thing, right? So I went on LinkedIn, like they said, you gotta go on LinkedIn and, update your profile. I was like, okay, I'll try this LinkedIn thing. So there was this woman one day that posted on LinkedIn. She said, I wanna help the next 5 transitioning veterans determine their purpose after their mission, after their service. And so I poured my heart and soul out to her. Her name is Teresa. She's amazing. And she selected me for a scholarship. And she asked me some really powerful questions. Who are you to the core? What are your values? What are your strengths? What do you want to do? What's your next mission? What do you want to help people with? What have you been through? All those answers were not in LinkedIn. They weren't in a career handbook. They weren't on a job posting. They weren't certainly what my guidance counselor told me. The answer was none of that. The answer was, I want to help people live happier and healthier. I'm not sure how to do that, but I'm going to start an online fitness business. No one I knew had an online fitness business, but I started one in 2017. No one understood me. They're like, oh, how's your cute little fitness business? Oh, you think you want to be a life coach? What the heck is this life coach thing? No one understood, but I didn't care. I was stepping into a new identity, and I was doing what I could with what I had at the time. And I knew that I was going after a purpose and a passion and a mission after my service, and I knew that I needed it. And I had faith in myself and faith in God. That I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what life was going to bring, but I was going for it. And I knew that at that time, I needed other people in my corner. But I felt very alone. I was scared. And I knew that having at least 1 or 2 people in my inner circle that knew all the struggles that I was going through at the time would help pull me through, especially when I moved away. I lost a lot of friends when I moved away because they didn't get it. I can't keep up with you. Oh, you're getting another promotion at that military thing? Like, no, I have kids. yeah, no, I can't attend that thing. But the right people that were there were my people. And they're my inner circle, and some of them are standing in this room here today. And I know I shared with you the story yesterday of this beautiful young lady, Melissa, who, when I was in that wheelchair, she said, one day, you're going to be a motivational speaker someday. You're going to be able to help so many people with your message. And I would not be standing here before you without her. So thank you. And another mentor of mine who's been a huge role in my life over the last couple years in my inner circle, his name is Marcus Black. He is an incredible mentor and a friend and a coach. And he always describes the meaning of purpose. So if you want to write this down, it's really important. Purpose is when you create meaning to your lived experiences. So each and every one of us have a set of experiences, a set of gifts, a set of talents. And it's about what can you do with what you've got? Purpose. Creating meaning. What do you make your experience, your lived experience mean? Is your purpose. And I've been able to turn all of this mess into a message. And each and every one of you have a message inside of you as well. So that's our first C in the freedom formula. So the second C in the freedom formula is confidence. So once we know ourselves to the core, now we're going to build on that confidence. Confidence is not just about faking it till you make it and just showing up and having a good posture. It's about being relentless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. Once you determine what your skills and your gifts are, and you own all of you, and you show up in your purpose and your passion, and you are relentless, that confidence will grow. Clarity brings confidence. We're going to hold questions for the end. Thank you. Jot it down. We'll hold the questions till the end. Thank you. So what I realized is that I used to wait for validation. I used to wait for people to clap for me, to recognize me, to see me, to advocate for me. But then I had to realize that I had to embrace my own vision and my own purpose. Bless you. I had to get real creative with selling myself and my message when no one else understood. So my mission, I said, okay, what problem do I solve? And you've heard this a couple times. What are your needs? What are your goals? These are the questions I had to ask myself. And the answer was, I'm on a mission to help empower everyone on the planet put themselves and their health first for just 34 minutes a day. So we can reduce the stress and overwhelm of life and live a more fulfilling life. And who doesn't want that? In order to do that, I had to step into being a role model, step into what I call the CEO mindset, and recognize that I am a role model and a beacon of hope and change in the world. So once I was clear in that, I kept telling everyone, I was like, I just work out for 30 minutes a day, and I write in my journal for 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening, like, it's 34 minutes. And they were like, well, you have all this confidence, you have this clear, how are you so clear? I had to get clear because I moved all over, and I had to have a system, and I had to be clear where I went to be like, okay, I have a purpose now. I have more confidence. Confidence comes from clarity. I had to recognize that I wrote in my journal every single day. I wrote affirmations, right? I had to write down, I'm a CEO. I'm a CEO of my life. And I had to step into that. And for those of you who, the goals out there, you love planning, right? I recognized that I needed a strategic plan. I needed a strategic plan for my life. What does the next 30 days look like? What does the next 60 days look like? What does the next 90 days look like? What does the next year look like? And I know in the military, we used to have to do all these strategic plans, right? Every year, we'd have to do the strategic plan. We do it for a reason, so we can set ourselves up for success and start with the end in mind and have clarity in where we're going. So we're not just floating through life. So having a strategic plan is key. So goal setting, start with the end in mind. And then we recognize that we have a gap. And then we're stepping into that. And the more we keep stepping into that gap, stepping out of our comfort zone, the more confident we're going to get. And in order to do that, we recognize we have a gap of where we're at and where we want to go. We have to recognize we have needs. We talked about our needs yesterday, right? But people don't read our minds. So we have to figure out, okay, what's it going to take for us to get from here to here? You want to be a business owner? What does that look like? You want to be a speaker? What does that look like? You want to be an author? What does that look like? You want a promotion? What does that look like? So ask yourself the question, and who do you need to become? And what do you need? What are your needs to get there? People aren't going to read your mind, so we have to set boundaries and communicate what our needs are. And we heard that yesterday, that sometimes that's a challenge. I once had a boss in the military that didn't agree with my position, didn't agree with what I did. And quite honestly, I don't think he agreed with even women being in the military. He signed my evaluation, and for almost 2 years, I waited for his validation. I waited for his acceptance, and I waited for him to advocate for my efforts. I was there to create positive change and impact the culture and the morale of my unit. One day, he said the magic words that will forever change the game for me. Sounds like you need to get bigger elbows. What do you think you're going to teach me? I've been in the military for over 30 years. Oh, you think you're a little life coach? Okay. No one's coming to save you. You need to get bigger elbows. It's like, bigger elbows? What does that even mean? I needed to get bigger elbows, and I needed to fit myself in places and spaces and meetings to advocate for myself. I have really been unapologetic ever since. I built a national program for the country. I worked a 2-year government contract, and I started going into his office with a lot bigger elbows, but also a bigger paycheck. Since then, I have been traveling all over the world for the last 7 years doing this work, and I'd still be playing small if I listened to him. I was still waiting. But it was because I was relentless in the pursuit and I was consistent every single day. I had a purpose, I had a passion, I did not wait for him any longer. Some of you in this room are waiting for someone to clap for you, waiting for someone to see you. But we gotta be consistent and relentless in the pursuit of what sets our soul on fire. So consistency is key. So the third C is consistency. Consistency is key for sustaining your growth. And unfortunately, growth is uncomfortable. Growth happens outside our comfort zone. First one's core. The second one's confidence. You're welcome. And confidence comes from clarity, but also consistency. So we have to recognize that growth is uncomfortable and it happens outside our comfort zone. And so when you see the Cruise Beyond Limits logo everywhere, I want to help you understand what Cruise Beyond Limits actually means to me. And I hope you take this on. Cruise Beyond Limits is we cruise beyond the limits that people, places, society, generations have placed on us. And the people, we call that the OPOs, the other people's opinions. that have been holding us back for years. So we have a contract with ourselves that we are going to cruise beyond limits of people, places, things, society place on us. But most importantly, the limits that we place on ourselves. In order to do that, we have to make sure that we maintain a daily standard and a daily contract with ourselves. And those daily standards for me, my non-negotiables, are nutrition, hydration, at least half your body weight in ounces per day of water, good old-fashioned H2O. Nutrition, hydration, sleep. Your sleep hygiene directly impacts your mental and your physical well-being. And lastly, your movement. So my daily non-negotiables and the standard and the contract that I've set with myself is sleep, hydration, nutrition, and movement. So it's a holistic approach. And we all have 1,440 minutes in a day. 1440. Every single one of us. And so I wanted to welcome you to the 2% Club. What I like to call the 34-minute mindset. Yes, we can give ourselves a real. We're going to welcome you to the 2% Club today. Okay? So on the back of your page, there's 34-minute mindset. Let me map it out for you real quick. 2 minutes of goal setting, gratitude, and intentions every single morning. 2 minutes of goal setting, gratitude, and intentions every single morning. So we set out a strategic plan for our day. Goals, we love this. We're setting ourselves up with a checklist. What does a good day look like? 2 minutes in the morning. 30 minutes of movement. And then 2 minutes at the end of every single day of reflection and celebration. How'd you do today? How were your emotions? What got in the way? And what can we do differently tomorrow? You don't have to write all that down. You're going to get it later in the book. So 2 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes of movement, 2 minutes in the evening. That's your 34-minute mindset. And if you were to math in public, who are my math gurus? We got a few, okay. 1,440 minutes divided by 34. It's 2% of your day. 2%. 2% of your day? I think you would do 2% of your day. That's 34 minutes each and every day. And studies show that only 2 to 3% of the population is actually consistent at doing this work. Yep, because it's tough. This consistency thing is tough, right? It's hard because life happens and things get in the way. But after today, we're going to have a contract with ourselves to make sure that we are part of that 2% club. So that means we got to step into that CEO mindset. So I have another acronym. This isn't on your page, but if you want to take notes, the CEO mindset. CEO, we love acronyms in the military. So you're a CEO of your life. I'm the CEO of Cruise Beyond Limits. I'm the CEO of Revive and Thrive Retreats. But I'm also the CEO of my life. So C stands for consistency, consistent daily pursuit, and what sets your soul on fire, your purpose, your passion. And then the E stands for education. So sometimes we gotta educate ourselves, but then we must execute. We have to take action. And sometimes we keep getting more and more education and we don't take action because we think we need to get more certifications, we need to get more training, we're not ready for that yet. We need to do more and more and more and more and more and more. When sometimes it's like, okay, what can I do right now with what I've got? With all the experience and all the education that we have. Sometimes you just gotta rip off the band and say, okay, let's just try it. Let's just do it. And then lastly, the O is opportunity. So we're gonna be open for opportunity. And sometimes our purpose and our next level version of us is not gonna be in a pretty package. It's not gonna be what we look like, what it looks like, what we think it looks like. But we have to be open for opportunity of what could be possible. And that person sitting next to you, to your right or your left, might be that next opportunity for your next level version of you.
Yeah, baby, I got you.
That's right. So we gotta use our tools, we gotta use our resources, right? We have this resilient road to resilience, we have each other, we have the Western New York Heroes, we have the Cruise Beyond Limits world. So we're gonna give you some tools and resources this weekend. We also need accountability. We need accountability and support to be able to level up and achieve our next level version of us. So we need accountability that is keeping us consistent. And when I first started my business back in 2017, I was traveling all over for the military and I couldn't get to a gym. And I was a fitness coach and I was traveling all over and I would get all these people together to do these workouts. So I figured out on a 3x5 card, and some of you saw that this morning, we have a 3x5 card with the workouts on it. No fancy studio. And I would travel all over. And I would do these workouts from the gym, in a parking lot, wherever we could, just to get people to sweat together and have a good time. And so when all the gyms shut down on March 17th of 2020, my friend Rhonda called me and she said, hey, you're always getting people together, doing all these workouts. You think you can teach something online? I was like, okay. I said, yes, I can. Because I had started an online business in 2017, 2 years prior. So everyone knew me as that fitness coach trying to build an online brand, right? But most people didn't know that that call saved my life. Just 6 months prior to that phone call, October 2019, I had cancer surgery. And I almost threw in the towel for a business and in life. So that call saved my life, and I wasn't even cleared by my doctors yet to work out. I had surgery on my arm and my leg at the same time, and if I moved the wrong way, the incisions would burst open. So I modified. I once again took one step. I did what I could with what I could. And I modified and I kept moving like my life depended on it, because it did. And once again, I served and answered the nation's call for men, women, children, dance camps, cheer camps. And I started teaching online at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. every single day during COVID for months. Raise your hand if you've been here since then. Yep, got a couple of you, yep. So that was the inception of Cruise Beyond Limits and the virtual fitness program, what you see today. It just goes to show, if you consistently show up, anything could be possible. If you are relentless in pursuit of what sets your soul on fire, people will notice. And you never know when you are going to get that call and say, hey, you're that girl. But it's only if they know who you are and you put yourself out there and you share your message with the world. But you must decide that you are the CEO of your life and that you are going to show up every single day relentless in pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. No one else's. And so one of the things that we have to recognize too, which brings us to the fourth C, is community. We're not meant to do life alone. As we continue to level up and go after our dreams and goals, it's going to get scary. It's going to feel lonely. And pretty soon, our inner critic's going to come hang out with us on our shoulder. Who are you to go after that? Who are you to have that job? Who are you to have that paycheck? Who are you to go on that vacation? Who are you to start that business? Who do you think you are writing a book? And then we get knocked down and knocked down and knocked down. And we start to listen to those stories. And that's why community is so important. Because you get into a place, if you get into the right inner circle, in the right place, your energy can shift at an instant. And remember, our posture and our energy arrives before we do. We get to be a role model for others as well. So get in the right community. I mean, look around. Y'all are amazing. You're beautiful warrior women. Yeah. Yes. And only we know all the hard stuff that we've been through. So we gotta stick together. Right? And so when we get around other people, we get to see what could be possible for us. Talked to a few of you yesterday, like, I want to start a business. I want to write a book. I want to share my message. How do I get there? Someone further along than you is not going to judge you. If they do, they're not your people. We got to get in the wrong, you're in the wrong room. Okay? So the people farther along than you are going to they want to shorten that time period of self-doubt and overwhelm in you and give you all the tips and tools and strategies. I'm here to give you everything I know and I can humanly possibly give you in the next couple days. Because I want you to feel this free too. We need to have a team of accountability. And in my world, we have a 48-hour rule because we tend to compare when we get into community. We're like, oh, we're not as good as them. Maybe we're not capable of that, whatever. All these stories creep in, right? So we have a 48-hour rule. So we don't go more than 48 hours without checking in. We feel and deal and heal, and we come back. So part of your accountability system, I encourage you to find a friend or a family member or your sisterhood, your circle, your people that understand where you're going, and just say, you know what, I'm going to go through some hard stuff as we continue to level up and we want to be consistent. Help me, right? So 48 hours. Try not to go more than 48 hours without checking in. And I'll tell you, I built this business over the last 7 years. After building a career, a life, a vision of what my future with my husband was going to be, the one thing as I continued to move 4 times in 6 years with him for his career all over the country, the one thing I held on to was community. I knew I needed it. So I kept searching for run groups, veteran groups, fitness meetups, and when I couldn't find one, I created one. I started a Wine on Wednesday group once. Yeah, right? I started a website and everything. I moved to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania right after I moved away from Buffalo. And 3 weeks after moving, I was like, we all watch the sunset every night. It was on the waterfront in Harrisburg. If you've ever been there, it's called Shipoke, beautiful historic home on the waterfront. Everyone would go out there with their bottle of wine and their glass and watch the sunset. I'm like, you know what? No one's talking to each other. They're all standing there just watching the sunset with wine. I'm like, let's create an event. So within 3 weeks of me moving there, I had 27 people in my living room on a Wednesday.
Good job.
Anything is possible, right? We're problem solvers. We are women warriors. We can solve problems. Maybe it's wine, maybe it's fitness, maybe it's faith, whatever that is for you. You have something inside of you and you have a problem that you can solve. And of course, as only God knew, that when I was faced 1 year ago with the ultimate betrayal of my husband, this week I celebrate 1 year, 5 days before our wedding anniversary, caught him cheating. My community was already there. Community that I built. They held space, 2 a.m. calls. They were already there. They showed me what was possible. That I too am worthy of asking for help.
You're a survivor.
Thank you. That I too am worthy of delegating, which is hard to do. That I too am worthy of feeling loved and supported during the most challenging and difficult time of my life. I know that I'm stronger today because I had a community. I had a network. I had colleagues. I had faith in God. And a therapist to guide me. I had all the tools. Remember, no one farther along than you is going to judge you. They're going to lift you up in spirit. They're going to lift you up in prayer. And they're going to help you make it through the storm, no matter what. And I'm happy to celebrate 1 year of freedom this week. Thank you. Which brings me to my 5th C, celebration. Right now I am the most healthiest, the most strong, the most calm, using this very system. I'm celebrating how far I've come in just the last year, and I cannot wait to meet the woman I become.
34 minutes a day.
That's
baby.
right.
Anger management.
Yes, cheaper than anger management. So how do I do it all? Crystal, how do you have all this energy? How are you able to do all that you do? I have to take care of myself and my health every single day for 34 minutes a day, no matter what. Like my life depends on it, because it does. So I had to create an action plan. What am I going to do to make sure that I can be the healthiest version of me? The strongest version of me. So I had to have a contract with myself. I had to set a plan. So I had to have a plan. On December 31st, how are we going to feel? So now it's your turn. Everyone say it's my turn. It's my turn, okay? So it's your turn. You get to celebrate you too. Even the painful parts. Because I'm celebrating how far I've come. And then I'm standing here before you. And I've told you that I've spent 6 months in a wheelchair before. So every single day when I put my 2 feet down, I never take that for granted anymore. So I'm coming up with a plan of how am I going to feel on December 31st. So how do you want to feel on December 31st? How do you want to look? Who's surrounding you? How do you want to feel? What's your energy like? Let's start with the end in mind. And then we're going to set a set of boundaries. Boundaries, because we have our needs. And that 34-minute mindset, remember, you want to be a part of the 2% club? Yes, you're worth it. It's your turn. So you got to be able to put yourself and your health first. And you have to bring your loved ones along the ride too, because if they don't know what you're going after, they can't help you celebrate. And some people are like, you create these celebrations for everyone else, and then when it's your turn, it's like, no, we'll just go to dinner, or no, we don't need to do that, or no, it's okay.
Not even acknowledge it at all.
Or not acknowledge it at all, exactly. You are not a burden, and you are all are capable of and worthy of celebration as well.
Thank you.
And that was a game changer for me, yes. So we have to own it. But what happens is sometimes we're like, oh, there we are bragging again. I've heard it all. Must be nice. There she is, getting an award again. There she is, running a marathon again. There she is, going on vacation again. Must be nice to live in the Caribbean.
Tip tellers.
People think we're bragging, and so we stop sharing, right? So write this down. Definition of bragging: celebrating yourself and putting someone else down in the same sentence. Say that again. Definition of bragging: putting yourself or celebrating yourself and putting someone else down in the same sentence. If you are not doing that, that means you are not bragging. Keep celebrating the heck out of yourself.
But why do you gotta put another person down?
We don't. Some people say that we are bragging, right? If we're celebrating ourselves and sharing things with others, oh, you're bragging.
She thinks she's all that.
Yeah,
She's conceited.
All right. Yeah, stuck up, conceited, you're all that, and say, yes, I am. And when they're jealous, yeah. So I'm standing here before you, and I know that I've shared that I've run 26 marathons in a 50-mile race. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because I am so proud of every single step that I've taken, and I feel very accomplished. Thank you. I didn't always think that way though. I listened to the OPOs, the other people's opinions. I listened to people saying, oh, there she is bragging again. So I stopped sharing. I didn't celebrate any of the hard work that I did. I just kept going and going and going and going. And slowing down was a swear word. I just kept going. You're so driven. Yes, I am. But no one knew, because I didn't share, that I qualified for Boston, New York, and Chicago in less than 2 years.
Cool.
And one day on December 31st, I looked down at my medals. I had run 7 marathons in a year.
Wow.
Not a lot of people knew. And I looked down at my medals that were also in a box on the floor, because I had moved to a new city and I was like, I'm not proud of this anymore. And maybe you have some medals, maybe from your service, or a flag or something that's in a box or in a drawer. And what I recognized was I was depleted and I wasn't honoring all of the hard steps and everything that I had been through, all the life experiences, all the challenges, all the things, all the pain. But it brought me to today, and it was everything. When I had those medals on my wall, it reminded me of the strength and the resilience and the determination of every single step that I took. So on December 31st, I looked down at my medals with tears. I was depleted. I was like, this isn't enough. But it was also because I wasn't honoring, it was in a box. I didn't take it seriously. It was just like, blah. And I treated it as such because I listened to everyone else. So on that day, I vowed to really stop and smell the roses, to really slow down, to celebrate and honor every single day. I vowed to make sure that I share what's called the messy middle. And I'm going to be authentic and vulnerable and share even when you're in the middle of the hardest time of your life. Because I want to give you hope that there is another way. And celebrating yourself, you're worthy of that. And celebrating all the hard steps. So, I'd love for us to just take a moment. If you feel inclined, we're not going to pray or anything. I just want you to put your hand on your heart. And I want you to say these words to yourself. This was so powerful for me, to be able to celebrate and honor all the hard things. I am calm. I am strong. I am beautiful. I am committed. I can do hard things. I am worthy of 34 minutes a day. I am dedicated to me, my core, my confidence, my consistency, my community, my celebration. I deserve to have a community and a tribe. And the others? We're going to leave them be. We're going to let them flee. Because they are them, and I am me. I am free. Thank you. So in order to cope with the stress and overwhelm of life, often we put on superhero capes. It enables us to be so driven and so focused to achieve all the greatness that we have in the world and solve all the problems and everyone in it. We get so much done in a day. Then we put on our masks. Maybe this mask is a uniform, a job, a business, title of mother, or maybe a full face of makeup dressed to the nines. Perfection at its finest. These masks allow us to cope and survive. And every day we set out on a mission to take on the world with our costume, our mask, and our cape. And soon enough you feel like this is what you need to do to be successful. To be loved, to feel like you fit in, like you belong, and to be, well, like you. Until one day, your wings are clipped. That cape gets ripped off of you in an instant. That's why I'm telling you, my friends, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to take your costume, we're not going to take your cape away. All I ask is put it down just for a little bit. And that's what we're doing here this weekend. We're just putting down the load. Take off that mask, take off that superhero cape, put your rucksack down. Lighten the load and just be you for just a little bit. And I promise you, we're gonna leave you stronger, you superhumans stronger than you when you came. And you're gonna be able to put that cape back on and that mask back on, but you're gonna be a different version of you. And I want you to feel what it feels like to put that cape down just for 34 minutes a day. Just be you, all of you. And I'm proud to say that I've traded in my witch costume, my mask of covering up my authentic, true self, all of me. I've traded all that in, and my combat boots, for a messy bun, a bathing suit, and flip-flops. So when I kicked my husband out, I packed 10 suitcases, sold everything we owned, and I moved to the beaches of Puerto Rico. A week before Christmas. Yep. So this next adventure is all of me, totally free. And I have no idea where I'm gonna live on December 16th. And that's okay. So I'm a recovering perfectionist, and those goals, you understand that we have to have it all figured out. But what I've recognized is that we can have the best plan, but it's not on our timeline. So the power of presence here today, doing what you can with what you've got, having these tools in your tool belt, knowing yourself to the core, being confident, being consistent, having a community, and celebrating the heck out of yourself every single day, no matter what, being present to you, yourself, your health, your growth, that's what matters. And we don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring, but we have faith in ourselves, faith in something that's bigger than ourselves, and we're open for opportunity. So I'm setting out on this next adventure with these very tools, and we're like, all right, let's do this again. Another move, another PCS, we got this. So, I would love for you, I know all of you have taken the oath of enlistment. So we raised our right hand and we answered the nation's call, right? Today I'd love for you to take the Cruise Beyond Limits oath of enlistment to yourself. So if you feel inclined, raise your right hand. Yes. So we're gonna, I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will show up for myself and my health every single day for at least 34 minutes a day, that I will support and defend the contract that I have with myself and my health. against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I declare that I am a warrior. That I am a fighter. I am a role model. And I am a CEO of my life. And I am made for more. I will not stop. I will not quit. I will keep showing up. No matter what. Like my life depends on it. Because it does. I will cruise beyond limits. The people, places, and society. The OPOs that have been holding me back for years. But most importantly, I will cruise beyond the limits that I place on myself. So help me God. I salute each and every one of you. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor and a blessing. We'll do a time check here. Okay. So, we want to take a break. Yes, break. So I'll continue to answer questions afterwards throughout the day. We're going to take a 15-minute break, and then